Welcome to the video about Treaty Oak Tree that's in Jesse Ball DuPont Park, which is, of course, home of the Treaty Oak and is located in the South Bank area. It was formerly known as Dixieland, an amusement park complex, which included most of the site opened in 1907, and the Garden Club in the 1930s, which Miss Jessie DuPont was a part of, and a Florida Times-Union reporter, Pat Marone, coined the name Treaty Oak while writing a fictitious story about how white settlers and Indians met under the tree to sign a peace treaty. That is what I want to talk about today, and I mentioned it last week in the Kent Milton video where I showed you the sign about the ceiling they had planted there from the Treaty Oak itself. Now, Jessie was married to the Alfred I. DuPont, which they moved down here at one point, which, I'm sorry you guys, I forgot what the year was. After Dixieland had closed down and been closed for a few years, the city and some developers wanted to develop this land and take out the tree. But when the Garden Club, Miss Jessie Ball DuPont, and the reporter, Pat Marone, came up with a story about the Indians and the white settlers to save the tree, and it obviously worked because the tree is still here. With Jessie and the Alfred I. DuPont Foundation, they purchased the land containing the tree around 1934 and donated it to the city in 1964. The city acquired the remainder of the property between that time and 1971, the year the park was named in honor of Jessie DuPont, or I should say Jesse Ball DuPont. That name should ring a bell. She was part of the Ball family, who was the mother of President George Washington. That's his mom's maiden name. And also Lucille Ball, the comedian. Just a little fun fact there to throw in. So, anyways, Miss Jessie died in 1970, which is year they named it after her. She was born in 1884. She was an ardent philanthropist. I can't even say the word. Sorry, guys. And part-time Jacksonville resident. Though the efforts of the city and private groups and individuals, a major project was completed in 1995 to preserve the tree and enhance the park. Currently, there are plans to enhance the park and protect the tree. So there you go. So JA began an important preservation program which grows seedlings from Treaty Oak acorns and make them available throughout the city. That was in 1986. Sorry, guys. And they did this to ensure the legacy of they call it the Regal Jacksonville landmark. Again, that was completed in 1995. So, there was cables installed in the tree to support limbs that threatened damage the to the trunk and lightning protection system, which is pretty cool. That was installed. In 2006, the Jesse DuPont, not DuPont, DuPont, Ball DuPont Fund awarded $150,000 to the city of Jacksonville to cover any repairs, any renovations to the park, to maintain and preserve the health of the tree, which is, I can't say it right, estimate could live another 400 years, which is about 250-ish now. The park itself is a 7-acre, 2.83 centimeters, or kilometers, excuse me, land on the south side of the bank, adjacent St. John's River, in downtown Jacksonville. Some sources say San Marco, but this is downtown area. Most of the land around the tree is the location, like I said, of Dixieland. It had a baseball field attached to it at one point, a center. Jesse DuPont, the Garden Club, wanted this land donated for the public use and enjoyment for years to come, just for general public. It's one of the smallest nature's parks in Jacksonville, ironically, and has the largest tree on it, which is, I guess, pretty cool. The park contains paved walkways, paths, a square benches, handful of picnic tables, and informational plaques around the whole thing. The type of treaty oak is called Southern Live Oak, Quercy, I think that's how it's pronounced, Virginiana, Virginiana, if anybody can pronounce that. Not good with my words. I'm sorry, you guys. So anyways, live oaks can be used to cook. Of course, I said one of the seedlings was planted in Camp Milton. Treaty oak was voted Tree of the Month in June of 2023. This live oak shades about 190 feet in diameter. Y'all, I can't speak. The pavilion. I don't know why I said pavilion. It's available for weddings and other small events. Of course, dogs are allowed. Of course, on leashes. Now on to Dixieland. Before it became Jesse Ball DuPont Park. I'm sorry, I had to use her whole name because that's what the park is named. Not sure, like I said, who came up with the name Dixieland or the idea for it. I cannot find that information. I'll probably do more research later on for that part. But I do know it happened sometime after the Great Fire of 1901. So there's Dixieland opened on March 9th, 1907, and a city still recovering from the Great Fire of 1901. It billed itself as Jacksonville's greatest resort and Florida's playground. It was also compared to New York's Coney Island, or the Coney Island of the South. There's many different references for it. It was a pretty good 21-acre amusement park and entertainment complex on the south bank of Jacksonville, Florida, operating from 1907 to roughly 1916 to 1917, when the First World War I started happening. And it had to go through a health storm and got damages there. So about 1907 to 1917 is when it finally shut down everything. Now it's on what's called present-day Flagler Avenue and Prudential Drive. It had different things going on: the Flying Automobile, a Japanese Village, House of Troubles, 160 bamboo slide called the Dixie Dewdrop. Yeah, Dewdrop. I did mention it was 160 feet, right? Question mark. Dixieland had many different things, like a silent movie studio where legendary Western star Tom Mix made movies or films, Daredevil attractions, aerial rides, exhibits with motor-propelled balloons. The first ever in Florida, it had a baby incubator where premature babies could be brought to the park for public viewing for 10 cents admission fee, but was also cared by trained medical personnel. It also had different rides, like 100 and other stuff, like John Philip Sousa Band, Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show. Like I said, Aeronauts. I can't think what the people's name is, but they had the finest merry-go-round outside of Coney Island. They had the polite vaudeville, charged 25 cents and 50 cents for matinees, 25, 50, and 75 cents for evenings performances. It had gardens, a theater, a dance pavilion that also doubled as a pool, and a 5,000 square foot skating rink. Believe it or not, I wish we still had stuff like that. The park also declined due to competitions from other theaters. Adjacent to the park was also other related attractions. I said also a baseball field, exposition center. The Florida Times Union even wrote on March 16th of 1907 that Jacksonville has long needed such a park. And the article goes on to say, when its gates were thrown open a week ago, there was such a wild rush to the ferry pier, and each preceding day has brought more business for the popular resort. 2 ferry boats, the Dixieland and the Duval, which was a hotel, had all the business they can handle yesterday afternoon, and night making trips every 7.5 minutes. With so many new attractions now being added to this particular park, it will be equal to any in the entire in the states as amusement features. When the flowers and grass commence to grow, it has been suggested to management to change the name to Fairyland instead of Dixieland. That's end quote. I know the Costa Bridge was opened 14 years later. The park was developed following the May 3rd, 1901 fire that swept over 466 acres, burning 146 city blocks. The fire destroyed 2,368 buildings and leaving about 10,000 citizens homeless. The fire occurred across the river from the area which became Dixieland Park, which started at a mattress. I won't call them mattress firm, but it's a mattress building that they made mattresses. Dixieland Park opened during a period of creativity following the fire, says Howard Kelly, who's been involved long in amusement and theme parks. He was he was the president over Sally Corporation. He does designs and manufactures of attractions for different theme parks and museums, stuff like that. It's a Jacksonville based company. He retired. But in the article I read, he goes on and says that it was part of the post-fire Renaissance, the Phoenix period, when Jacksonville was rising out of the ashes, and Jacksonville came out of the fire with entrepreneurial ideas. Dixieland was one of them. It had all the elements of great parks. Kelly said that there was a novelty of Dixieland parks. It was illumination, electricity to augment amusement parks became technically viable around 1907. And so like I said, the ship ended up with the shipyard, and there was a need for housing the workers. Howard Kelly also believed that the expansion and improvements to passenger train services and other, during the early 1900s to South Florida was a potential tourist market for Dixieland Park and hurt any other plans for recovery. And the development of the interstate highway system in the 1950s and 60s is a reason why he feels like Jacksonville never had another amusement park or attracted a theme park. One thing I know, when I was a kid, they mentioned putting a theme park here, but that never came to be. And with I-95, other things were accessible, like Orlando, and Marineland was out of that way, and it has struggled for decades. I don't even think it's still open, to be honest. I did find that there was other attractions too from another source. Like there was flame jumpers, a circle swing, Big Otto's wild animal show, Attleberry's cowboy band, different airships during blueness. The astronauts were Leon and Leona. There was Martin Bury, who was this undisputed skating champion of Florida. The theater costed $30,000 to build, which is equivalent to over $1 million dollars in today's money. There's also a book called The Jacksonville Family Album, written by Wayne W. Wood and a few other people. Sadly, we don't have anything like that today. Oh, there's another tidbit I thought was found interesting. I found out last minute was Walt Disney even came to visit Jacksonville, and this is an excerpt from the Tallahassee Democrat. It says, during Disney's visit to Jacksonville, speaking of Jesse Ball DuPont, made him wait outside his office for hours before he had his secretary handed him a note that said, "We don't deal with carnival people." Ooh, I bet she regretted saying that. Of course, she died in 1970, and he's got Dixieland in Orlando. So, that being said, I wish we had a theme park here or something, even if it's a small scale thing. We are getting a surf water park thing. So let's see how that goes. I know it's a process of being built and having to deal with all the red tape, the ins and outs, whatever we got to do to make it happen. It was in the newspaper, the news. I wish we still had other parks. Hey guys, thank you for listening and watching, or both, of the video. And hopefully you made it to the end. I really appreciate those who watch my videos, who have subscribed. And be on the watch out for part 2 of the video. It's going to be a short one. I just want to do a walk around the park and the tree. So hopefully I can do that next week. I have to work tomorrow. And I'll be gone most of the day Sunday with church and all. And spending time with family. So I am really grateful that I get to have some kind of time to do stuff like this. These things interest me, and I hope they interest you. And sorry, I tripped over a lot of my words in the video. Hopefully I'll do better and not rush through stuff. And my notes were not that organized, so I was trying to go over my notes and pick out key stuff to talk about. So, I do apologize for that. And I'm going for my walk now. About 35 pounds down. So, yay. And I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. It's been a little bit since, I can't say it's a little bit since I've walked, but anyways, do appreciate it. And again, thank you for watching the video. See you guys next time. Bye.